when we opened this unit and we talked about organic versus functional. And remember, this is another one of these cases, very fine lines sometimes with this. And your ability to discern through all this stuff and figure out the idea. Can a person look very much textbook clinically depressed and not have the disease of depression?
Yes.
Yes, that is the case. And the thing is that, I mean, life can suck sometimes. Bad things happen, tragedies happen, ongoing frustration, disappointment, those kinds of things like that. Where can a person just learn, I'm going to cover this up for a second. Nobody's listening to me. Can a person look very depressed and not have that disease of depression? Can a person learn just how? I mean, and maybe, yeah, I mean, they've just had a really sucky time of it here for a while or something like that. And again, learn how to have just a negative, dour, pessimistic perspective on self, others, the world, life in general, and things like that. You see what I'm saying? And they've got, do you know that person? I don't care what it is, somehow or another, they look at it from a negative perspective. Can you once in a while, you're so negative all the time. Those kinds of things like that. Gang, we can have, again, complicated bereavement, complex bereavement, where an individual they get to the point where, whether it's a tragic death loss, or sometimes tragic other loss and things like that, and they just aren't able to pull themselves out. You hear about the Kubler-Ross stages of bereavement and things, and we got denial, and then we got bargaining, we got this and that, but they're just not able to pull themselves out of that. Now, sometimes that could be diathesis stress. We talked about that on Friday. Somebody tell me what I mean when I just said that. Sometimes that can be diathesis stress.
Isn't it like when you already have a predisposition to a disease or an illness, and then like some kind of stressor comes along and like pulls the trigger on?
There you go. Exactly. And so, how about this person? They were sitting on that proverbial fence. That tragic loss does come along, and it does push them over that fence. And now for that person, it's not complex bereavement. It really is depression. Do you see what I'm saying? And gangs, this stuff is going to be, you want to talk about fine lines now and things like that. The thing is that you have to sift through this stuff. You have to know what you're working with this. And so that organic versus functional. And is that just a matter of semantics? No, it's not. It's a matter of what you're going to do about it. And again, that lesson we got from the learning theory stuff. What was that last thing we said in learning theory? Ritalin will not solve variable ratio reinforcement. Little Johnny didn't have a disease. Little Johnny was a well-taught monster. It's the same thing with this. If it is a learned depression or something like that, antidepressant meds, which don't really treat depression anyway, aren't going to help that person that much. They're going to need what? They're going to need the kind of therapy that's going to help them. Why is feeling this way working for you? Does that make sense? Why? And it's kind of, well, how could that be working for anybody? But it is for that person right now. They have learned that. You see what I'm saying with that? Versus real organic depression. You're not going to talk a person out of real depression any more than you're going to talk them out of schizophrenia. They're going to need the best we have with meds right now. We got a long ways to go to get close to the best. But at least what we got is better than nothing. But do you see the difference in those two things? And so understanding this, and again, complex bereavement can be very puzzling. Number one, is this a diathesis issue or is this complex bereavement? Hey, another these very true stories, this woman, and I may have talked about this before, this woman, and she basically, she was in school, she met what becomes her soulmate in school. They were both in the same major, and they just absolutely fell in love. This was the love story like nothing else. You know what I'm saying? And they get engaged, and they're going to be married. They're going to go to grad school together. They already had names for their kids. The absolute love story. just before, they set their wedding date, just before their bachelor graduation. And then they're going to grad school together. I mean, the love story. They decided they're not going to have, these pre-wedding ceremony or celebration. They're not going to walk around and have people jumping out of cakes naked or walking around with big giant balloon penises and stuff like that. They decided instead what they're going to do is have just a very intimate, caring, with their very dearest friends and stuff, nice, intimate dinner. And they had that dinner. And he, her fiance, probably had a little bit more than he should have had alcohol. It's not like he was slobbering, fall over drunk or something, but he probably had a little bit more than he should have. As a matter of fact, the dinner ends, and everybody's, going their way, hugging, and we love you, we'll see you at the wedding and stuff like that. And she says, honey, maybe should I drive? And he said, no, I'm fine, I'll be okay. And so she said, okay. And well, he wasn't so fine after all. He had a pretty serious accident. She, fortunately, with minor injuries, but he was killed in this accident. Now, about 10.5 months later, she's been referred to me, and she's in my office, and her life is a complete wreck. I mean, she is so even disheveled and messed up, complete, emotionally, everything. And I could hardly get her name. The first thing you do is name, phone number, where that kind of stuff. It took almost an hour just to get that information. Just that she could not stop sobbing. She was a complete wreck and everything else. They had her. They had been putting her on all kinds of anti-anxiety meds. They were this and that. She was addicted now to Ativan. On top of the fact she was drinking copiously. Grad school was over. She didn't even finish. She never, the funeral and everything. It was right before graduation. She got continuances on her class. She never finished her bachelor degree. Grad school's over. She's a complete wreck. Again, to the point, the doctors were kind of just, I don't know, and that kind of a thing like that. And she was a complete wreck. And then she ends up in my office. She looks every bit, every word, and every paragraph in the textbook clinically depressed. Except for one thing. She didn't have the disease of depression. It didn't take long. I found 3 thought themes for this woman. There were 3 thought themes that were guiding this. Here are these 3 thought themes. Number 1 thought theme, it's my fault. I killed my soulmate, my one and only. It's my fault. I should have insisted on taking those keys. I didn't. It's my fault. I killed my one and only. Thought theme number 2 is, that was my one and only, and I will never, ever find another that could even come close to the exquisite happiness and love of this gifted, wonderful, blessed relationship. Number 1, I killed him. Number 2, there's never going to be another. And then thought theme number 3 was, and even if I were to meet somebody else that could even come close to that, I won't be able to be a part of that. Because that would be like cheating on the one I killed. Now, you carry those 3 things around with you for about 9 months and see how you're feeling. You see what I'm saying with that? And so what we did is we identified, with her, I identified in therapy these 3 thought themes, and then I did cognitive restructuring, counseling, therapy on each of the themes individually and as they were interrelated. No medicine, no shot therapy, none. And I still get thank you letters from her. She still once in a while, I mean, they're getting fewer now, but I'll still get a letter from her, a card, Christmas card or something. She got her life put back together. She did end up finishing her degree, going to grad school, and doing very well with herself. Does that make sense? Versus, if somebody would have just depression, here's your meds, here's your meds, and that kind of thing like that. Do you see the difference, you guys? You got to know the difference with this stuff once again. And in this case, the difference was this organic or functional with this woman. As wildly train wreck of a mess she looked like that first day in my office. Was Organic or functional?
Functional.
Functional. Do you see the difference?
Like, no one else put together that this woman's
No, but
fiance died and
this
now she
kid,
was
this
sad?
other kid was at Mayo and nobody put it together.
Wow. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? This kid was with neurosurgeons and neuropsychiatrists. Nobody put it together. Nobody put this together for this woman. No. They get, it's kind of like that Western. But now instead of a six shooter, it's that label maker. You see what I'm saying with this stuff, you guys? These are all true stories. And so the thing is that's the first problem with depression. Is this the disease of depression, or is this some kind of a reactive or functional? And it matters because it matters what you're going to do about it. Does that make sense? It matters that. And if you do the wrong thing about it, you could be screwing that person up a whole bunch. And then, when we do look at, and this list here could look like both sometimes. This is not easy. Like I said, you want to talk about that fine line right here with this stuff. This could look like both sometimes. Functional depression can get real, real bad. And don't forget also looking for that diathese stress. That kind of a thing. Does all this make sense to you guys? Yeah. There are two biggies. When we go through this, there are two biggies, and I'll point them out when we get to them. That would, in my way of looking at things, would pretty much point to organic versus functional. We'll see that when we get there. First of all, depressed mood. Most of the day, almost daily, based on subjective report and observation of others. Gang, here's another very important, and write this down. When we talk about this, we talk about mood, affect. Mood and affect. What is mood?
Your demeanor.
Pardon me?
Your demeanor, like the
Mood
way.
is the patient's self-report of their emotion. I feel sad, worried, upset. Mood is the client's report. Affect is what other people see of that emotional status. The client has furrowed brow, wringing their hands, sobbing, laughing, or whatever. Does that make sense? Mood is what the patient says. Affect is what other people see. We can sometimes, with psychosis and various other things, we can see what we call mood affect incongruence. What is that? Mood affect incongruence.
It'd be like if you feel happy but you look miserable.
In other words,
or vice versa.
I'm sad. Laugh, 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 laugh. I'm really upset and sad. Laugh, laugh, laugh. Or how about this? I'm feeling fine. I'm just fine. Cry, 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 cry. You see what I'm saying? In other words, saying one thing, showing another. Mood affect incongruence. Now, does that necessarily mean for sure psychotic? No. Can somebody be so upset? Have you ever seen somebody so damn upset, especially a sudden thing, and that they start laughing? You ever seen that? It's kind of, I don't know what to do. You know, does that mean that they're crazy? Does that mean they have a psycho? Don't you dare! I will hunt you down. You see what I'm saying with this stuff? So you got to be careful with all this stuff. But a theme of mood affect incongruence, yeah, that should catch your attention. So yeah, depressed mood. Gang, remember something. The disease of depression isn't as much sad as it is, what did I say? Body energy utilization issue. It just happens to be that feeling good takes a lot of energy, and if you don't have that energy, what's the opposite of feeling good? Which is different from being sad, mad, bad over circumstances. Does that make sense? There's a difference with this stuff, you
You
guys.
said it's more what?
Pardon me?
The disease of depression is more.
It's a body energy utilization issue. Diminished interest and pleasure in nearly all activities. Now, gang, anhedonia. What is that once again?
Physical inability to feel good.
The physical inability to feel good. Again, you know what? Everybody, grandma, grandpa, the kids are down. You just aren't going to be happy until you fuck it up for them again, are you? Gang, it's not that that person is choosing to not feel good. They can't choose to feel good any sooner than Christopher Reeves could have chosen to get out of that wheelchair and run a mile. Does that make sense? It's just not there. That's going to include them. Interest, pleasure. You know what? The guy no interest in that. The guy no pleasure in that. Nothing matters. Now, how could functional depression start to look like this? Organic depression would be what? That person physiologically just is not able. How could functional depression start to look like this? Gang, feeling that down, bad, mad, sad is exhausting. You see what I'm saying? It's exhausting to feel that bad, that much, all the time like that. That's exhausting. No, I don't feel like doing this. I'm tired. You see what I'm saying with that? There's a difference there, though. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference with that. Significant weight loss, but you could also say weight gain. Not on purpose.
Fluctuation.
Could be fluctuation also. Changes. It could be loss or gain. Changes. Daily insomnia or hypersomnia. Either can't go to sleep or spends most of their time asleep. This is the person. Here it is, 11:30. Get out of, why don't you just get out of bed, take a shower, get dressed, join the world. And again, what are they, here now, noon, then 1, then 2, they're still not out of bed. And again, everybody, no, I'm not talking about it's a sleep-in day. I'm talking about this is looking traitish now. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's looking traitish. And again, why? What's the point? Why get out of bed? What's the purpose? Why? What's the point of it? What am I going to do? So I get out of bed. So I take a shower. So I get dressed. So what? You see what I'm saying? That kind of just that, why? Why? Often, this person often also, and it's another significant part of it, is they're often in jet lag because of their sleeping patterns and things. Does that make sense? And so all that stuff. Daily psychomotor agitation or retardation. In other words, just very, and you're going to see with Mary when we get together on Wednesday. Psychomotor retardation. And what is that once again? Psychomotor retardation. And that says physical sluggishness. It's also mental. It's like mentally this person has lead boots on walking uphill in maple syrup. This person. Everything is just such a hard, to listen to a question, to think through that question, to think about a response, to give that response. You see what I'm saying with that? Everything. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like breathing is difficult, hard. Just everything's such a struggle. Gang, the anhedonia and the psychomotor retardation are the two biggies. If I see those together, I'm still gonna rule out state. Always rule out state. I see those together and I'm not seeing state. Probably two biggies, we're looking at what? The disease of depression. Does that make sense? Retardation. Now, that doesn't mean agitation is not it, but when you see anhedonia with psychomotor retardation, those are two biggies. Does that make sense? For that, once again, differential diagnosis, rule out, in this case, organic versus functional. Questions? Fatigue, loss of energy. Once again, gang, don't forget, this is really, it's not a feeling sad issue, it's a no energy issue. They don't have the energy. They don't have the energy.
Even with regular depression, if a person takes energy pills every day to get them the energy to.
They're trying, they'll do a lot, and that's where things like
Not
that.
no drugs, no real drugs, but I mean, you got the red packet of energy pills at Dollar Tree.
Or
I buy 2
sometimes-
of them every morning. I have to,
Or sometimes stimulants
I
or
don't want to
something.
do no coffee or nothing like that. You know, I don't want the caffeine. You may like the caffeine, I just want the energy just to be able to function. It doesn't affect my thinking, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't change my thinking. It just helps me move along.
And that's what you
whatever
see with this
I have to do.
depression, this just ongoing, just, the motor's not started. The motor's not running. Daily feelings of worthlessness, helplessness, hopelessness, excessive, inappropriate guilt, shame, ugliness, self-hate, self-denigration. Kind of like, why am I feeling so bad? What did I do? I must be guilty of something here. That's why I'm feeling so bad. Does that make sense? Don't forget, what did we say? Any explanation is better than no explanation. All that stuff. You ever notice how I sneak stuff from before into everything we talk about? Isn't that it? Sneak it in. Never forget this stuff. Never forget any of this stuff.
Now, can't that also be state though? Like depending on what you're doing, the choices you're making in your life and the people you're hanging around?
What's that?
Can't that also be state?
Yeah, certainly.
So like, if I feel excessively guilty, is it maybe because I'm doing something that I shouldn't do?
It could be.
And so the people I'm around are basically making me
Could be.
feel worthless?
Sure, absolutely. And that's what you, the counselor, is going to be looking for and listening for. All those themes, all those areas, all those things.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. Inability to concentrate, make decisions. I mean, even the littlest, what would you like for breakfast this morning? I don't know, that's too much. I don't know. I can't. That's too much right now. I can't. You see what I'm, even the littlest of decisions, let alone major life decisions, things like that. This just, I mean, even the smallest little decisions, just too much. I can't handle this right now. And again, this is one of the state. Don't forget, we can all end up so stressed out once in a while. I'm done. I can't make it. You see what I'm saying? That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about there's this is too much. I can't. This one we're going to talk about more as we continue this on Wednesday. Pretty important discussion in and of itself. And then, after we finish that, we're gonna talk about self-harm, dangerousness. And then we're gonna throw another whole, we've already talked about the complications with organic versus functional, then we're gonna throw this up there in a whole nother piece of understanding the depression pie. And so we'll get to that, that's what we're gonna pick up with and begin on Wednesday. You guys have a fantastic, be well.